Here we are again, another episode of Under Pressure. I am your host, Carmine, joined today by Dr. Sarah Doyle, author of the 7X Method. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Doyle.
Well, thank you so much for having me and taking time out of your busy Friday.
Oh, well, of course, absolutely. So I let all my guests, I open up the floor to them, kind of tell us about yourself. How'd you get started? What got you to this point?
Sure. I was a burnt out realtor, like most Florida residents also have a real estate license.
I found that out.
It's like a driver's license, in Florida. So I worked in that. And when I was 25, we were hit by a bunch of hurricanes and I had this listing and it had a blue tarp on the roof. And I finally found a cash buyer and I couldn't find the owner because he got his insurance check and just dipped out. And I was like, Sarah, you deserve better for your life. So I went back to school for healthcare. I wasn't sure if I was going to do pharmacology because I love chemistry. And I was a little bit older. By the time I finished the pre-med, I was like 28. So instead of being a DO or an MD, I decided to be a DPT.
Okay.
Because that licenses us to prescribe exercise as medicine. I've always been into fitness and always been into nutrition. So I got my PT doctorate. I worked in hospitals for 6 years. I spent a year in oncology. And that was really formative in my beliefs because I saw like the epitome of like how big pharma can destroy human body and how neglect will also destroy human body. So I, fast forward, the pandemic happened and I was furloughed. So as a side note, when they intubate everybody, that's what they were doing when they first happened. And the hospitals were full of people on ventilators. Remember?
Okay, yeah.
And so when somebody is on a ventilator for a prolonged time, they can't swallow. And if you can't swallow food, you can't go home. They can't clear a bed. So Medicare lumps together all the reimbursements with speech therapists that teach people to swallow, along with physical therapists. We teach people to walk.
Yeah.
And so at first, none of the physical therapists were working. So I had 4 months off. And instead of Netflix and chill, I finally just started busting through this functional medicine certification that I've been looking at ever since I was in the oncology unit. And I started coaching people, started coaching friends. I wasn't sure what my niche was going to be, but historically, OBGYNs, if you're a woman, you know what I'm talking about. Like you go to your OBGYN with a complaint. They do not know what to do. They say, why don't you take birth control? Oh, why don't you try this birth control? Oh, okay. Why don't we try bioidentical hormones? Like there's no natural way. They don't really understand the female body. So I specialized in that, started my online coaching program. And then men started chiming in and being like, hey, what about us? We have hormone problems too. So now I'm like 50-50 split. The other big thing that I had was in 2020, I went to Central America and I stayed with a friend who was an expat. And he was like, oh man, he's like, you got to meet this guy in town. He's always talking about energy. You guys would just totally click. So I meet the guy and he's like a for real shaman. He's like a liaison for this quantic medicine program where they're using food as food as medicine based on the sun and the moon and the circadian rhythms and energetic frequencies and all this stuff. And they're healing people from cancer without drugs, just using food. So I got the basic timed eating protocols and I started using them on my coaching clients because everything is done at home. Like you book a telehealth consult with me. We talk about it. We order all your tests. They get done at home. And while we're waiting for the test, we do this eating method. My clients are like, my carpal tunnel went away. I don't need to see my chiropractor anymore. Or I lost a whole pant size and I didn't even exercise once. Like, what is this diet?
I'm listening now. Yes, I am listening.
Right. So I started off just writing meal plans and then it just turned into a full-on book. And I realized that people, like I'm half Italian, my dad's Italian. And
we love to eat. As a full Italian, yes, I could tell you, we love to eat.
We love to eat. And I learned how to cook at a young age. I was cooking meals at like 13. My mom was like, go for it.
Yeah. Get me out of the kitchen. Go ahead. Step on up.
Exactly. So I realized a lot of people didn't grow up this way. And so I made a full-on cookbook. And if you're Italian, the hardest thing is like measuring when you're cooking.
We don't have measuring ingredients. It's all a feel. Like, it's a feel and a look. That's how we cook.
You know how much green's supposed to be in the oregano.
Taste the sauce. It tastes good. Okay, we're good to go.
Exactly. So I went through a whole summer trying to calibrate all my recipes. So my book is 50% gluten-free, dairy-free diet. And the first 50% is like theory. I talk about exercise because, I'm licensed to prescribe exercise. And then with the functional medicine certification, and then I'm the diplomate with the American Clinical Board Nutrition. That gives me the ability to talk about nutrition and vitamins and minerals. I had to get all those letters after my name because I'm not an MD, even though MDs don't really have any more nutrition education than a PT. That's life. So that's that. And I would say the most exciting thing that's happening to me now, besides I'm developing a supplement line, is I'm on tour with Shakira, and it's been really, really fun. I'm the team physical therapist. It's been like the job of a lifetime. Like I tried to step away from PT, and then I got a call from her people one day, and I was like, oh my God, is this a joke?
You don't say no to Shakira.
No. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be a PT again. So here I am a PT. I can't say much except it's been an amazing experience, and we're filming behind the scenes. So stay tuned. I don't know where that's going to be.
Okay.
You guys can find out all the juicy details when that comes out.
I'm excited. Yeah, definitely give me those details because I want to make sure I post it on all our platforms as well. So you're of the belief that you can find a, what am I looking for? Like a cure for everything in nature in a way, like with the food we eat, the way we just exercise, there's a good way to just heal yourself that way?
Well, we can never say cure.
Okay.
But you can definitely work backwards to see where did you go wrong. Like that, I had a patient consultation this morning, and she's been to, this is typically what I get. People have been to a bunch of different doctors, taken a bunch of different tests, wasted a bunch of money, and just gotten the same answer. Take this prescription, take that prescription. But one of the unique things about physical therapy is that we look for the root cause. Like you go into a clinic and you're thinking, you tell the PT, like, I hurt my shoulder, and we try to figure out why is it hurting? Is it really coming from your neck? Is it coming from this muscle? Is it from the joint? Like we find the root cause and we treat it. So that's the mindset of a physical therapist. And so when I got into functional medicine, that's what drew me to it, because it's the same mindset. We look backwards. We're like, okay, which system is at play? And what is the root cause? Do you have a toxin somewhere? Was there a mold in your house? Did you have a parasitic exposure? Did you have heavy metal toxicity? What is your dentistry like? We try to look at the whole person and put together everything, including trauma. Like, if something really bad happens to you and all of a sudden you're stressed out, like you have low thyroid, that's a common one. Thyroid will drop in times of really big stress.
So stress could play a huge factor in all your health issues. And I misspoke and said cure. Why would you not say cure as someone who wouldn't know not to use that term? Like, why do you say don't say cure?
We just can't say cure as practitioners. So I'm in the process of writing a paper right now. I'm writing a case study on one of my patients. We do brain chemistry testing. So I work, I do hormone testing, but I've been doing brain chemistry testing using urinary metabolites. And it's really profound because a lot of symptoms can be either hormonal or of like neurotransmitter origin. So we're doing testing before and after with some herb interventions. And so I can never really say, like, even when we're writing literature, it's just, we can never say that.
Yeah.
And we can never, like, if I'm advertising, like I'm creating a couple supplements, I'm doing a menopause, perimenopause, and an ADHD supplement, all natural. I can never say cure. Like we have to be very careful, like in our labeling and our advertising. Like if you go on Amazon and buy something, you can never say treat, cure, or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah. So it's all for legality purposes. So someone doesn't come and be like, wait, I didn't get cured by this, or this didn't happen, and then they try to sue you or something like that.
Hello.
Yeah, you don't want that to happen. So when you were studying under that shaman, or when you went out there to meet that shaman, how cool of an experience was that? I mean, obviously it enlightened you and inspired you to go forth to do something very similar.
Yeah. So I was there and some of my other friends were there, and they decided to all go to Tulum and party. And I was like, I really want to just study these quantum physics books that have been they've recently been transcribed from Spanish to English. And I got through like the first few chapters of the first of 12 books. Like it's so intense. I don't know if physics was your best subject.
No, I was not great in any of the sciences. Chemistry, like you said, you love chemistry. I was not there. I know the basics or what I see on TV, but I tried chemistry. I think it was freshman year in high school, and I felt dumb. I felt really dumb, and I was like, I got to figure out something else.
The science of communication.
Yeah, there it is.
You're an A student. Come on, Carmine.
Thank you so much, Dr. Doyle. Now, now I feel special. You got me blushing a little bit. The science of communication. So I'm glad I went that route. So it went from there, and then you came back to the States, and you were like, okay, no more real estate. I'm doing this. I'm going to focus on this. So what was that first step towards that?
Well, I was still working at the hospital, and I was just kind of I was practicing on my friends, and then I started charging, and then I prayed a lot, and I prayed, and God kept telling me, quit your job at the hospital. I mean, probably for like 6 months, I disobeyed him or ignored him, whatever you want to say.
You were like, hey, just give me a second. I'm going to just feel this out a little bit longer. I know you're wiser than me, but let me see how this plays out.
Yeah, it was like, well, it's a big deal when you decide to, go all in and bet on yourself. So I did. And I just jumped on podcasts. That's how I got the majority. Like, there's word of mouth. And I have a lot of Miami clients from that. And I did some advertising on the Instagram and Meta.
Podcasts are like word of mouth on steroids.
Yeah, exactly. I think people can learn to trust somebody in listening to 2 minutes of a podcast versus just ching, ching, ching on their phone,
100%. And I like what you're doing because I'm someone I won't even take an Advil if I have a headache. A lot of that has to do with my mother and also my grandmother. They always battled prescription pills problems and stuff like that. So I was always like, I don't want to take a pill of any kind because I always worry, what if I fall, down that same path? My grandmother lost her life to pills, unfortunately. So, I mean, this was when I was like 12, 13. And I'm always thinking that doctors just want to prescribe you pills as a quick fix, like a cure-all, instead of actually getting to the root of the problem, which I like a lot about you, is because you seem to get to the root of the problem. Or how can we, once again, not cure, but how can we help with the issues you may be facing?
Sure. I mean, I had that conversation with my patient this morning. And I said, look, she's like, every time I went to the doctor, they just want to prescribe me more medications. It just wasn't working. I said, listen, that's just what they're trained to do. And I was asking her about her blood sugar level. I said, because when we want to talk about our hormones, we have to look at your blood sugar regulation, number one. I was like, do you know your HbA1c? Has anyone ever told you you're pre-diabetic? She was like, no. I said, well, you know what? They usually don't say anything until you actually have full-on diabetes, and they can give you metformin. I can't tell you how many people come to me. Like, there's insulin dysregulation, blood sugar dysregulation, cortisol, like stress, big time. And those go hand in hand. And if your cortisol and your adrenal glands are messed up, there's no way you're going to have properly functioning sex hormones. And nobody ever looks at it like that. And I said, they're not going to tell you. I can't tell you how many people I get their blood work from their doctor. I'm like, you're pre-diabetic. And they're like, what? And it's the easiest time to reverse it. Just change the timing of your eating. I look if you have any artificial sweeteners. Artificial sweeteners will elevate blood sugar just like regular sugar. Your brain doesn't know the difference. It puts a bunch of insulin into your blood. There's no sugar that needs to get into the muscle cells. So you start developing insulin resistance. It's the same way that stress causes diabetes. Like, if you're...
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That stress can cause diabetes. And when you say pre-diabetic, my grandmother was battling with me constantly. Granny, shout out to Granny. She's probably going to be watching right now. She kept saying her doctor told her she's pre-diabetic. And I thought to myself, technically everyone's pre-diabetic until they're diabetic. But at what point, as dumb as that might sound.
That makes so much sense.
So that's what I was like. I was like, Granny, you don't have diabetes yet. She's like, no, but I'm pre-diabetic and I got to watch this. So at what point do you become pre-diabetic, at least in the medical term?
That makes so much sense because, you're right. We're all pre-diabetic. We don't have diabetes.
That's the way I looked at it. I was like, am I smart? Am I too smart for this?
Genius.
Yeah, but at what time, what point do you okay, the signs are here that you're getting close. You're almost there at that starting line.
So here's the funny thing is that you'll like LabCorp and stuff, their values are different based on your state. So here in Florida and here in California, we're healthier. Our ranges, it's like anywhere from 5.5 to 6.5 is your HbA1c. But in places like Louisiana, where people are more obese, the range is a little bit higher. It might be 5.7 to 6.7 or something like that. So
they move the bar.
Yeah, they move the bar. But in general, we like to see your 3-month average. So HbA1c, it's hemoglobin.
Okay.
And it's an average of how your body controls your sugar over a 3-month period, which gives us better insight than you go get your blood work. They're like, oh, make sure you're fasting. Your fasting blood sugar is one thing that just tells you how you are that day. It doesn't say how you are for 3 months. So that's why we use that 3-month average. And it should be between 4.5 and 5.5. Once it gets close to 5.5, I'm like, okay, let's start talking about habits. Are you eating after 7 p.m.? Like I talk about it in my book, The 7X Method. Each of our organs and systems has a circadian rhythm. So the circadian rhythm of your pancreas is to stop working at 7 p.m. But if you're eating, if you're drinking wine, if you're having anything besides water after 7 p.m., it pushes your pancreas to work when it's not supposed to. It doesn't want to. And it has a double the effect of insulin on your body. So say you like want to eat a piece of cake at 9 p.m. because it looks good.
It's like, were you at my house last night? Because exactly that's what happened. Dr. Doyle, do you have a camera in my living room?
I'm also clairvoyant. No, just kidding. No, but that same piece of cake is like eating 2 pieces of cake at 3 p.m. when it comes to the effect of the blood sugar and the insulin on you. So, if you want to eat that cake, eat it earlier. Respect your body, respect your liver.
You know what people are going to do? They're going to clip down and be like, Dr. Doyle said I could have 2 pieces of cake at 3 p.m. That's not what she said. She said eating it after 7 is just as bad as having 2 pieces at 3.
This is where your PhD in communications comes in.
I got your back.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm like, I have such bad eating habits. And now that you told me after 7, I would have thought like after 9 o'clock. I thought it was a little bit later. So then after 7 to not really chow down. And then if I go out, have a couple drinks, it's usually after 7 o'clock too. So that's probably where the majority of my unhealthy habits come from, either snacking too late or having a couple of drinks after 7 o'clock now. So what is the best solution or kind of a happy medium?
Yeah, how do you have a
how
life?
do you balance? Yeah, how do you balance that life?
I don't be a loser.
and want to continue to live, at the same time. I don't want to be a loser. It's like, guys, Dr. Doyle said I can only hang out from 3 to 5 p.m. And then after that, I got to go to bed.
You gotta start hanging out with biohackers.
Biohackers? Okay.
No, in reality, I tell people, you gotta, and especially with the Latin culture, they eat a lot later. I say, try to turn it back when you can. And I understand you have events, go. I mean, there's times where I eat dinner at 10 o'clock. Do I feel good? Not really. But I mean, I do.
Eat.
Yeah. I mean, I want to have friends. If you don't make time for your friends, you won't have any friends. So, it's like the 80-20 rule. If you can, when you're by yourself, not be munching on stuff and just save it for times where it's part of your social network. It has a purpose, right?
Yeah.
You got to justify it.
As long as you justify it, and you can't train your body to almost like when you said the pancreas, right? So if you constantly maybe start later on in the day, maybe you start eating your first meals like 11 a.m. and then that last one is 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Would your pancreas kind of adjust to that new timing? Or at 7 o'clock, it's like, nope, it's an internal clock. It's like, bro, we are done.
Yeah, no, it has everything to do with the sun and the moon. It has to do with the planetary influences. So I tell people that, in the summertime when the sun sets later, you can eat a little bit later. But in the wintertime, if you start packing on weight, it's probably because the sun's setting a little bit earlier. Try to scale back your dinner, like maybe eat at like 5:30 or 6 in the wintertime. It has everything to do with the rhythm of the sun. So it all starts with your eyes when they see the sun in the morning. We have our pineal gland that as soon as you open your eyes, it'll stop the melatonin production. And then 30 minutes later, you have a huge burst of cortisol. It's called your cortisol awakening response. And your cortisol is like your get up and go. Like that's why you feel motivated in the morning. And when people are burnt out and they're just like real sluggish in the morning, it's because their cortisol awakening response isn't happening. Like I had a client last night for telehealth, like she's in remission from cancer. And, that's like the most stressful thing, like thinking you're going to die. And
absolutely.
All those treatments are physically stressful. It's emotionally stressful. It's financially stressful. Like all the stresses are there. And so her cortisol response, like I do testing of like 5 urine samples of cortisol metabolites, and it should be like 20 times higher in the morning than it is at night. And like this poor girl is like flatlined. And I was like, so hi. I was like, how does it feel to be running on fumes?
She's like, not as great as you'd expect. As great as you expect, Doc. I'm thriving right now. How would you recommend she adjust that? Like, how can she get that burst of cortisol?
Absolutely. So we do exercise in the morning. So there's good stress and bad stress, right? Exercise is a great stress. It'll raise your cortisol. So you don't want to do CrossFit at 8 p.m. at night because it's going to delay your melatonin release and it's going to make you not get your sleep phases that you need. So we recommend the more intense exercise in the morning. Chill. If you want to do yoga, Pilates, that's the stuff you do in the evening. Do that after work. But if you want to do CrossFit or something that's really going to make you lose your breath, if you can run, if you're a runner, go for it. You want to do that in the morning to mimic your body's natural rhythm. And then there's other herbs we can use, like licorice is good.
Even black licorice, because that's the worst tasting licorice out there.
Oh, you don't have to.
Don't tell me you like black licorice. We'll end this interview right now if you tell me you like black licorice.
We put it in a pill. You don't even know you're taking
there you go. Okay, you could trick me into having black licorice. Is it good? All joking aside, it's one of the more beneficial ones.
Yeah, no, it's a really good.
Anything that tastes like shit is usually good for you.
Yeah, that's why we put it in pills. No, we're not giving you Twizzlers. No black Twizzlers. No. Yeah, so we do licorice, and then sometimes I'll use like a glandular. So I also do this as an alternative to bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. It's just like, so it'll be like desiccated, like part of like a cow's. So we eat parts of the cow's organs.
Okay.
So so we use like special organs to stimulate whatever we need. Like for women who are trying to get pregnant, we'll do desiccated ovaries.
For that's people, very interesting. I like that.
So your pituitary in your brain is like your master gland that tells your insulin what to, your ovaries, your testes, your thyroid. It tells all your glands what to do. And so if someone's really bad, I'll use some desiccated pituitary along with some other blends. So everything is natural. So we can use different herbs and some desiccated organs.
So what about like if a couple's trying to get pregnant, it could be either on the wife's side or the husband's side. What would you recommend in that situation? Like you said, for the ovaries, for the guy, is he taking anything? Are we going to go down that route? I was going to say, are we eating balls? And for lack of a better word, testes?
You could. Yeah, actually you could.
I didn't mean to be that crude about it, but yeah.
Basically, yeah, waste not, want not, right? With like the Native Americans.
Yeah.
So I do look at both the men's and women's hormones, and I usually use herbs first because I want the body to produce its own and not rely on outside sources. I would remove toxic estrogens from like pesticides. So make sure all the fruits and vegetables are organic. There's actually a clinical study that linked conventional fruits and vegetables, like the pesticides, to stillborn deaths.
Really?
Yeah. Like you think that you're okay, cool. I'm pregnant. I'm going to eat some fruits and vegetables. Like,
not if it's lathered in toxins.
Yeah, so we got to really be careful where we're sourcing our food. And then like plastic water bottles, they're full of estrogens. That also is bad for the guys. If a guy has belly fat, there's an enzyme in belly fat called aromatase, and it will actually convert his testosterone into estrogen.
Okay.
So we start intermittent fasting. Like each case
get a little more feminine then.
Belly fat produces a lot of estrogen. And then the man boobs come, and it's he's a dad bod before he's a dad.
That's me. I have a dad bod before I'm a dad, and I need to cut it out now. The estrogen levels are going too. I might get emotional on this podcast in a second. No, but what's one of the biggest misconceptions then if I'm trying to lose this belly fat then? I know starvation is probably not the route to go. I'm sure people do that, but that's probably one of the worst things you could do for your body, right?
Sure. And, while we're talking about starvation, I'll talk about Ozempic. So there was a study, like especially Ozempic, and I want to say like the older population.
All semaglutides, right?
Yeah, I would say so. When you're like starving yourself like that, I read a study the other day that said that people who are taking Ozempic, like they lose bone mass and muscle mass at a 20 times greater rate than regular aging. Like you already lose like 1% a year. And so you accelerate that with these Ozempic things.
That's scary. So you want to get so thin, but also, you're losing bone mass. You are literally going to be brittle.
Yeah. So I think there's a time and place for everything. Like, so if you are morbidly obese and you cannot walk around the block without huffing and puffing, like you're a heart attack waiting to happen, Ozempic's a good thing for you because it could literally probably save your life.
Yeah.
But if you only need to lose 10 pounds, you'd probably be better off cutting out dairy, cutting out gluten. You can check your blood type. I talk about it in my book. There's certain fruits and vegetables and things that are inflammatory to different blood types. Like if you're trying to get a 6-pack, there's ways you can really dial in.
Okay.
But start with that. Starving, especially for women. So men, the research says that men can do an 8-hour eating window and a 16-hour fast, and that can work for them. Maybe not long term, but you could do it for a year until you get to where you want to be. But for women, if they don't eat till noon, it actually messes, because we're childbearing. Even if you're in menopause, you still don't get these benefits. It still messes you up, messes up your hormones. You end up with symptoms of like low thyroid and like thinning hair, menstrual irregularities. You don't have any change in BMI. So like they did a study of women who fasted all the way till like noon or 1 o'clock, and then women who ate breakfast. And after a year, they had the same BMI, but the women who fasted had like constipation, thinning hair, like nothing that anybody wants.
There was nothing positive about it.
No. So for men and women, it's different. And I talk about it in my book, it's 7X Method, because we are totally different creatures. I mean, this is why I like men, because they're not women. Right?
Yeah. And I like women because they're not men. We can both agree on that. That is something that I'm going to be so cognizant of, though. It's because I would immediately think, let me just starve. I can lose a couple of pounds here and there. And it's just better. And what are the best foods to get your day started with in the morning? So what is something that'll be good to kickstart my day? Would it be too much? Is too much meat a thing, or not enough meat a thing?
Okay. So I would say that's a little heavy for the morning. I would eat your proteins, your animal proteins at lunch and dinner. Okay. They're better assimilated. So according to the Quantic Medicine program and the 7X Method, the first 2 hours of waking between 7 and 9 a.m. are the purple group. And these foods will nourish your pituitary, your pineal gland, and your DNA. And these are things like berries, nuts, cacao, like chocolate, dark chocolate. You can have your coffee. You can have your tea. You don't have to say goodbye to your coffee in the 7X Method.
That's one of the vices I don't have, coffee, believe it or not. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ADHD to the core. Don't take away my cup of coffee.
Don't take away your coffee. No. But you can have that, though. That's one of the things you could have, sure. And you still get yourself a nice little start to the day.
So it also helps you support your cortisol, that big burst in the morning, because coffee, caffeine's a norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor. Norepinephrine is part of our fight or flight chemical system. So it's all supportive. And then the next would be the blue group from 9 to 11 a.m. That nourishes your thyroid and your hyaluronic acid. So I don't know if you're married, have a girlfriend, but
I have a girlfriend currently. Well, I mean, it's complicated, but yes, currently in a relationship.
I guarantee you that she's got hyaluronic acid products all over her bathroom, right?
Okay.
So we're trying to put this stuff on our face. We're trying to eat it. So it's a really important. So in this group, we would want to eat like just a piece of fruit. This is when you want to eat your fruit. Then after that, no more fruits, no more sweets for the day. Lunchtime, that would be like greens, green salad, green drink. That's when you have your proteins. It's better to eat red meat. When the sun is at the highest point in the sky, that's when you want to eat your hardest to digest foods. Like
okay.
Your raw vegetables, your green salads, your red meats. And then in the afternoon, if you need a snack, you can have some non-green veggies. And then towards dinner that's when you eat your white group. So this was the hardest thing for me to understand, because I was like, carbs at dinner, like, aren't I going to get fat? Like, so I was always eating a salad at dinner, and the guy's like, I bet you have a hard time sleeping. I said, yeah, I can never fall asleep before midnight unless like I have a fever or something. And he's like, yeah, you got to switch your foods around. So as soon as I started eating the 7X Method, within 2 weeks, I was sleeping, going to bed at 10, and I could wake up in the morning. I used to be one of those people that needed like 3 alarms.
Oh yeah.
I always had heartburn. I was always taking digestive enzymes. I could never digest my food. And when I switched to 7X Method, it's been 5 years now. I have not taken a digestive enzyme since, after like almost 20 years.
Wow.
Of having digestive problems. Completely changed the way my body assimilated food. So when you're eating the right food at the right time, the inflammation goes down. And so you don't have like, you're not inflamed. It doesn't hurt to go up and down stairs or get up and down on the floor with your grandchildren. I've coached people in their 60s who have just like their hormones are in the toilet. Like they like hot dogs are like a food group, like, like they eat a lot of processed food.
And they usually eat at like 3 p.m. as their dinner too. So you would think they're in the safe window, but not if you're having hot dogs for breakfast. You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on, listen, Gil, I know you've lived quite a life, but if you want to sustain this living for at least another 10 years, don't be eating hot dogs for breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a lot of malnutrition. We have a lot of fake food. So, I've taken people, and it may take, like, if they're really bad, it might take like 6 months to get a turnaround. I have a biohacking boot camp that's a 12-week program, and we meet every Tuesdays for a mastermind, and I teach on a different topic. So for people who are just like sick and tired and being sick and tired, that's a great option for them. They enroll in the boot camp, and it's really life-changing. I give them all access to me 24/7 on WhatsApp. I have a separate number for that. And I literally mean the 24/7. Like I when I help people get off antidepressants, like there's 2 weeks where it's really critical, and I'm like a suicide hotline. Not literally, because I've never had anybody like say that, but like it's really
you're there for them. I mean, I heard getting off of that could just be as bad as just not being on them.
Yeah, it's probably worse than they ever felt before. Yeah. So when we're transitioning them from the pharmaceutical drug with the side effects, like if you're a guy and you're depressed and then you start taking this and now you're on this antidepressant and you can't get an erection, like I don't know what's more depressing as a man.
I'm there with you. If I could no longer get it up, I'd be very depressed.
So this is the standard of care in America. So, I have helped a lot of men get off antidepressants, use all natural things. Yeah, it might cost like $100 or $200 a month because it's not covered by insurance, but you feel normal. You don't feel like when people take Adderall, they have a big crash because it forces your receptors to release like dopamine. And it's like taking tomorrow's dopamine for today. So once that wears off, they just feel depleted. They feel run down, but there's natural herbs we can take that will be an alternative that will increase your dopamine. I mean, they're evidence-based. They use them for Parkinson's disease in other countries where they can't afford our medications like levodopa and was it decarboxylase? I forgot what it is, but there's medications for Parkinson's that they don't take in other countries, and we can use those herbs here instead of having all these kids on all these drugs
just addicted to these pills. And it's a beautiful thing because I see so many times it'll be like a commercial for antidepressants and one of the side effects is like suicide. It's like, wait, how? That doesn't make sense to me. If you're a person who's depressed and maybe close to doing something like that, or at least having thoughts like that, why would you take a medicine that could possibly make it worse for you when it's supposed to be doing the opposite? That's crazy. And then when you say the insurance company doesn't cover it, shocking. They don't cover things that can actually be beneficial. They'd rather just have you just constantly consuming these pills or take this pill for that pill. Oh, wait, you got a side effect because of that pill. Now take this for that. And it's a never ending cycle. And then you're just stuck, not even knowing what you took the first pill for.
Yeah, that you bring a really interesting point. I was watching, I saw a clip of another podcast where the speaker pointed out that every single mass school shooting has been a kid on antidepressants where the side effect is listed as suicides and homicidal tendency. Like that is crazy that we're giving kids, especially when they're like, we have these, how do I say this? Okay. So, you have like a wire. A wire is covered in plastic to protect it. Yeah. So in our brain, our nerves are all covered with something called myelin. It's like fatty. So a girl will stop, or her brain finishes myelinating, like it's fully developed at age 16. A boy's doesn't finish till age 21.
Is that why we're immature as fuck?
It is why women date older men.
Yeah, that's usually what it is. My girlfriend's 10 years younger than me, so I get it. Yeah. Makes sense. I'm on the same maturity level, but go ahead. The wire situation and how it stops developing.
I mean,
I just think I was like, women are always so much more mature than us guys, and there's a reason now.
It's been like that since you were a teenager. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I think that's why the drinking age is 21 is because of the brain development. But I mean, it's shocking to me that parents give their kids all these drugs before the brain's even finished developing.
Or the doctors would even push like pain pills on these kids when it's like synthetic opium and synthetic heroin. It's like, hey, give a 12-year-old that because they have a broken bone. It's like, are you serious?
Yeah.
It's scary because you're supposed to go into your doctor trusting that they know what they're doing and they're actually looking to help you out instead of maybe reaching their bottom line or because they're getting a kickback from an insurance company.
People don't go to the doctor unless there's no other hope because nobody wants to spend their time or money. Like I remember I was traveling in Costa Rica. It's where I went to go study Spanish before I got into PT school. So I was in Miami. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to get a job if I don't speak Spanish. Yeah. So I did one of those immersion programs. And so I was in Costa Rica and I just lost my train of thought.
So you were learning Spanish. We were talking about everyone pumping you full of pills, kickbacks from the insurance companies.
The train came back.
There you go. I got you there. Fist bump. Don't leave me hanging. We'll have some cake before 3 p.m.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I got really, really sick there. And the people I was staying with, I did like this. I lived with poor people. Like they were considered rich because they had a cow.
That was their flex? Their flex was a cow.
Yeah, they had a cow so they could get their own milk in the morning. So it was so gross. Like they would take.
So you had milk right from the cow?
So yeah, but here's what they would do to make the sour cream. They would just let the cream sit out overnight in a plastic container till it got rotten. And like this is how we got the tortillas. There was like a little barefoot 7-year-old that would come to the door and sell the tortillas that her mom was making. So we would get that and then fry them in canola oil. And then they would put that sour cream on top.
I usually get no sour cream on my tacos, and then that just confirmed that I will never, ever get sour cream on not only my tacos, but anything. Thank you so much, Dr. Doyle, for that visual. So they just left it in a plastic bag to just curdle and spoil out there?
Yeah, that's how they got it. So needless to say, I got so sick. I got the sickest I've ever been in my life. I thought I was going to die. And they're like, oh, I think we vamos a hospital. I was like, no, I'm American. We don't go to hospitals. Like, unless I'm going to die. I was like vomiting and shitting blood. Like, I literally thought I was going to die. Sorry.
That's very hot. I'm getting hot and bothered.
I'm like,
talk about painting a picture.
We do not go to the hospital in America, because that's why. Because we have been so screwed over by our doctors. Nobody trusts the healthcare system. Like, nobody thinks that doctors are out for their best. Like, you go there, like, unless you're going to die, like, nobody goes there. And you're right. It's the whole perception, because we just think they're just going to push a pill on us and not really, help us. Like, it's like I said, I used to say, if I had $1, when I worked in hospitals for 6 years, like, and for every time I heard, how can they send me home? They don't know what's wrong with me. They're just giving me more prescriptions. Isn't there anything I can do? And I was like, my heart was just breaking. I'm like, I know there's stuff, but I know I'll probably get fired if I tell you.
See how sad that is, though? Like, you shouldn't be worried about losing your job if you're just giving people the facts.
Especially you think people go to hospitals to get help. I should have been in like one of those convents or something. I don't know.
So if I walked into your office as a 38-year-old male, I'm kind of at that point where things are, I'm probably losing maybe a lot of T, right? Testosterone. I'm probably losing it without even noticing that I'm losing it, even though I don't feel like my libido is any less
you won't notice
intense. I wouldn't notice until it's way down. Yeah. So what would you recommend for someone like me who's kind of just not really sure what could be an issue, but there's probably things that I need to work on just in general?
We all need to be working all the time. So don't beat yourself up, because that's a rapidly changing industry and we're always learning new things. So first of all, it's telehealth. So you will be sitting at home from your in your pajamas, likely. Maybe a shirt on top and boxers on the bottom, the typical Zoom style that we do.
Business up top, party on the bottom. Yeah.
That's it. Yes. So I have a pretty extensive intake form, and it lets me look at everything and I can find patterns pretty quickly. And then we would order the appropriate test. You can do a hormone test at home. I like to do this one from Physicians Lab. They're in Boca.
Okay.
And it's about half price of their competition. So everybody loves that. And you submit 5 urine samples in a 24-hour period. It gives you a little case with an ice pack and UPS. You can drop it off at UPS when you're done. With little test tubes. Just pee in a cup, pour in a test tube, write down what time. Cool. The lab will analyze everything within like a week. We can get a good idea of what your cortisol is doing and what your sex hormones are doing. It also shows some enzymes, so I can see, like, are you going to start losing your hair? Should we start doing something about it now? Do you have a problem metabolizing toxic estrogens? Should we start cutting them out of your diet? Like, and we start looking at stuff like that, because men don't want prostate cancer. Men don't want to lose their hair. No. And then testosterone is not just about erections. It protects you from heart disease. So the number one.
That's my biggest scare. My dad's on his 4th heart attack. He's 60 something. My grandfather lived to, he's like 70 something, but a heart attack eventually took him out. My mom had a stroke, but that had to do with a lot of other factors. I know that weight, her doing, prescription pills and stuff like that. But I think that's my biggest fear, is probably heart disease.
The genetic predisposition. Like I was telling my clients today, like, your genetics are like, if you look at a fire, those are just like the logs sitting there. And then your environment and your choices are like the match that lights it. So if you can just keep the match away from the logs, you won't get the fire. You'll be good. Right. So, hey, you're welcome to come in.
Yeah, I think I would love to come in just to
virtually,
just to see what it's about. Yeah, and virtually makes it so much easier for everybody because they can do it from anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I started it during the pandemic because everybody was bored at home, and it just works better because nobody wants to drive. I live in Miami, so it's like nobody wants to.
Yeah, the fact you came all this way, I really do appreciate it.
Oh, sure, you're welcome. It's. I thought it'd be fun. Like, my intuition told me that it would be a good connection, and that I should definitely go. I was like, oh man, that's far, but.
And speak about that intuition. Like, how does that work? Like, it's just really just a feeling or a vibe? Because I'm always so fascinated by that. So you believe in psychics as well, or you're clairvoyant enough to think you could predict?
No, I'm not. I'm not at all. I'm not at all. But intuition is like your gut instinct. I think that's God talking to you. And I think God talks to you, and it just depends if you're willing to listen or not.
It's all about just opening up those ears, right?
Yeah, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
So, Dr. Doyle, tell how everybody can get in contact with you, how they can reach out to you, because I mean, this has been very, very fun, very informative. I mean, this hour has flown by. Totally flown by.
Sure. So I have a website, and it's drsarahdoyle.com, DRSARAHDOYLE.com. You can find me there. You can book a discovery call. It's $150. And we can go over any past test results, whatever you want. I'm also on Instagram at 7X Method and Dr. Sarah Doyle. I'm on TikTok at Dr. Sarah Doyle. And yeah, that's it. Hit me up anytime. Don't be shy. I really love doing this. It's my passion.
I could tell.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, I could tell you love what you do, and that's big.
I do. I love my coaching. That's why I'm developing 2 supplements: the menopause, the perimenopause, or actually 3, and the ADHD supplement, because there's nothing else that's good enough out there that's strong enough. And you can take you don't need to take hormones. You don't need to take prescription drugs. God gave us everything we need. You just need to learn how to use it. Like you can heal yourself, right? You can do a lot of things. You're in control of your destiny. Like the choices you make today are who you're going to be in 5 years. So I'm happy to help you make those right choices, and so that you can be what you want. You know, if you want to have a family, it takes 6 months for you and your partner to really clean up your diet, get your B vitamins straight, check your hormones, all that stuff. It's a preparation.
Well, beautifully said. And once again, thank you so much again. That's it for this episode of Under Pressure. Check us out on everywhere you consume your podcast. We're going to be on YouTube as well. So look, listen, watch, whatever you do. Tell your friends about it. Tell your friends about Dr. Doyle as well. So thank you one more time. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks a bunch. Bye, everybody.